Hey everybody, it's time for GMG In The Raw Live. Grab your favorite beverage of choice and join us as we discuss the Minnesota Vikings. Feel free to add in your comments and we'll talk about them on air. GMG In The Raw Live is about to start. Look at the countdown timer. Once it hits 0, we're starting with the best Vikings post-game show out there. Type in your questions, your comments. We'll talk about them. Played, you know what that means. It's time. Skull. Merry Christmas, everyone, and welcome to GMG In The Raw, Vikings versus Saints. Hey everybody, it's Dave here, and joining us today for Good Morning Gallahorn in the Raw to dissect that absolute beatdown by the New Orleans Saints, where the final score was New Orleans 52 and the Vikings 33. On your viewers' right is the one and only, the Grand Poobah himself, Mr. Christopher Gates. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I did not see that coming. The fun stat for the day: the Minnesota Vikings defense has not forced a punt in the last 118 minutes and 17 seconds of Minnesota Vikings football.
Ouch.
That makes it very difficult to win football games.
Mm-hmm. Hey, we've got fans already chiming in. Down there on the bottom right-hand corner, the one and only, the fantastic Mr. Flip Mozzie, sitting in the dark, because why not after this game? Flip, Merry Christmas, brother, and welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, you can call me the Viking Shadow. I'm not fully showing up because the Vikings didn't. But hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. Do we got to do these intros? Everybody knows who we all are, right?
Right.
We're in prime time form.
Oh, well, okay. If you want, we can skip them. It's part of the charm. But anyways, below me is Drewster, and below in the middle is Ted. How you two doing?
Good.
If I was any better, I'd be against the law, boys. Let's light this candle. Ho, ho, ho.
As Drew said, running into this game, the defense was playing with stems and seeds. They're playing with two starters that had only one snap apiece, and both had been cut by previous teams. And it showed because the defense got walked over all freaking day. They couldn't stop a cold. They couldn't stop COVID. They couldn't stop anything. Yes.
Hey, there ain't nothing you can say.
No.
There ain't nothing that can be said.
Alvin Kamara.
I got something to say. I got some things to say.
Alvin Kamara had 6 touchdowns, which tied a record that was set in 1927 or 1929, somewhere in there. So that was just too much.
Look.
Go ahead, Flip.
People want to excuse the defense because of injuries. Shamar Stevens been there all year. Jaleel Johnson's been there all year. Harrison Smith has been there all year. Anthony Harris has been there all year. And those are, especially Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris, those are supposed to be the strengths of our football team, of the defensive secondary. And they played like ass today. No mincing words. Okay? There was no defensive push, especially in the run game. There was nothing from Harrison Smith. Nothing from Anthony Harris. We had a former Baylor Brett Favre cousin lead the team in defensive tackles. And I'm just sick of, sure, you can excuse the linebacker play. You can excuse the cornerbacks. No, wait, you can't excuse the cornerbacks.
Sure.
There's not
Jones,
that much.
You think Jones is a starting cornerback?
I mean, he's been starting all damn year. So if he's not a starting cornerback, why is he still on the team? Why is he still on the team? Why is he still on the team?
Because we need the body. It's simple as that.
So give him the body. And let's look at the Saints receivers, because the Saints receivers weren't anything special today. They were all injured too. So Gladney, Dantzler, that's fine. No, there's no excuse there for the injuries. The only excuse is Eric Kendricks. Everybody else has to step the fuck up.
Oh, I agree.
I'm sorry.
They need to step up, but
we need good efforts from our best players, and we didn't get it from Harrison Smith. We didn't get it from Anthony Harris.
Well,
go ahead, Drew.
That's going on the assumption.
Or go ahead, Ted.
Go ahead, Drew. I was just going on the assumption that Anthony Harris is considered one of their best players. He's been horrible all year. He's been absolutely horrible. He couldn't
Anthony
tackle
Harris
a
hasn't made a play
problem.
all year. No.
And that lame-ass attempted tackle where he stuck out a wing, they just fucking...
I agree. So don't talk to me about injuries, because this is the 440 points allowed this year. This is the 5th worst scoring defense in Minnesota Vikings franchise history. If they allow 10 points in Week 17 against the Detroit Lions, it'll be the 3rd worst defense in Minnesota Vikings franchise history. You look at the worst defense in franchise history, 1984, Les Steckel, he was fired. You look at the 2nd worst defense in franchise history, 2013, Leslie Frazier, he was fired. So if they go into that game against Detroit and lay another egg, Mike Zimmer, like I've said all year, get to 8-8 or get the fuck out of my state.
I have really nothing to add to that right there. That says it perfectly.
Chris, what were some of the Vikings' firsts in this game? You were annotating them in the remarks as we went in.
Let's see. Some of the ones that I saw, the 586 yards allowed were the most in a single game in the 60-year history of the Minnesota Vikings franchise. And the one I saw from ESPN that I thought was just mind-blowing to me. The Vikings are going to have a 1,500-yard rusher and a guy that threw 30 touchdown passes in Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins. They're the 9th team in NFL history to pull that off.
Freddie just posted that.
Including the Titans from this year. And yeah, like Freddie just said, the other 8 teams that have done that, including this year's Titans, all won at least 10 games. This team is going to top out at 7 at the most.
The most.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. there's nothing else that you can say about this defense. I mean, you can talk about, like we said, we talked about the injuries, we talked about everything else. These guys, for the most part, are just bad. I mean, Harrison Hand gave us a couple of, highlights for a young guy that was drafted in the 5th round. He might be something that could be part of the core going forward, but I mean, our defensive line has gotten its ass kicked all year. Shamar Stephen, Jaleel Johnson, Mata Afa, Holmes, whoever's out there. We talked about Ifeadi Odenigbo when the Vikings traded for Yannick Ngakoue. He was angry because he thought he was being slighted. Well, that dude hasn't made a play all year either. He's in the Anthony Harris boat. He's pissed off. He doesn't have any reason to be pissed off because he hasn't done anything. Nobody in the pregame show, I ran off the 5 or 6 guys that I actually give a damn about whether they're back as part of the Vikings defense this next year. And none of those names have changed. I mean, maybe Harrison Hand gets added to the list, but outside of those guys I named on the pregame show, I don't care if anybody on this Vikings defense is back next year. And, as much as everybody's going to hate to hear it, everybody better steel themselves for a defense-heavy draft in 2021, whoever the coach is.
Now, who were those names? To refresh those for those who haven't seen the pregame show, and I wish they'd go back and watch it, but who were they?
I think the ones that I said on the pregame show were Harrison Smith, Eric Wilson, Eric Kendricks, DJ Wanham, Gladney, and Dantzler. And other than that, I don't give a damn if any other player on the Vikings defense currently is back next season because they've all been terrible. All of them. I don't know what else to emphasize on that.
Freddie, what do you mean by in the bubble? Or in the bubble wrap? You want to rest them. I see what you're saying. Ted, what's your opinion on it?
Have a good rest of your Christmas.
Ted, what's your opinion on this fiasco we just watched?
It's not really a whole lot to add. I was looking something up earlier, in Mike Zimmer's tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this year, the Minnesota Vikings have given up 3 40 burgers, including today's 50 burger. In Mike Zimmer's previous, since he became coach in 2014, he's had 1 40 burger game put up against him, and that was against the Packers at home
Green Bay
in his first season in 2014, his first year, when had a lot of injuries. And so I kind of go back to this. Well, he's got a lot of injuries this, and he's got a lot of injuries that. I would argue he's got talent on this defense. I mean, Dantzler and Gladney have proven that they can play. Eric Wilson has proven he can play. Yeah, Kendricks was hurt today. But again, it just goes back to the lack of talent that they have when guys do get injured. They just and who's responsible for that?
Right.
Again, it's Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman. And look, you can make all the excuses you want, but Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman made this bed, and now they're laying in it, and it needs to be completely stripped and cleaned and remade.
But does that happen?
I think it's better now. I mean, like Flip was saying, the worst defense in Vikings history got Les Steckel fired. The second worst defense in Vikings history got Leslie Frazier fired. Brad Childress got fired in 2010 after 2 really stinker games against back-to-back division opponents, Bears and Packers, in 2010. If this doesn't, I have a feeling Wilf is going to lose more than 50% of the fan base. I mean, there's that movie Downfall, the last days of Hitler, and I hate bringing up a Hitler analogy for anything, but it's funny. But in Downfall, there are like 8 people in the bunker with Hitler thinking they could still win the war in the very last days. Those are the people that are still Mike Zimmer's defenders. They're in the Downfall bunker. Everybody else is trying to get on a plane out of Berlin because the Russians are coming, baby, and it's ugly. It's going to be ugly, and we saw a taste of that today. And it's something has to change. I really believe now something has to change. And
Now,
Yeah.
Chester says the problem with firing Zimmer is with the lost revenue because of this pandemic year and the
Oh, for
extensions. This may
Christ's
be too
sake.
much for
No,
the
no,
Wolves
Come
to
no,
swallow.
no, no, we're not doing that. Here's the thing:
That's lame.
is
$8 million a season, which is reportedly
there's
what
this
Zimmer's getting. Is a lot.
There's this kind of idea theory that as long as the defense gets healthy and comes back next year, that we'll be okay. We'll bounce back from 2020. Well, we talked about it on Monday, Dave. I don't believe that for a single second. It can get worse next year. And if the main takeaway from the season is that they need to revamp the defense and draft all these rookies and bring them back in 2021, and all of a sudden we're going to be a playoff contender, Super Bowl contender again, you got to be freaking kidding me. We're nowhere close to that. The schedule next year is brutal, and the defense is not the only issue on the team. So go ahead, sell that little sunshine and rainbow story to somebody else, because I'm not one of those people in that bunker. I'm not buying it for a second. This can get worse, and it will, as long as we keep this defensive-minded strategy around Mike Zimmer.
Drew, who are the two big guys missing on the Vikings defense right now that are out injured?
Alan Page. Scott Studwell.
Yeah. Okay.
Hunter, he always makes a difference. That's the biggest miss of the whole year, because that Danielle Hunter makes your, not only scares quarterbacks and tackles, he also makes your secondary better. Believe it or not, he makes your corners better because of the pressure he puts on. I would say, particularly these last few weeks, Ted's probably Kendricks. I mean, he's a big leader out there. Not having Kendricks out there, but for the year, it's got to be Hunter. And you know who's gained the most Pro Bowl notoriety this season, the most talent risen notoriety this season? It's got to be Michael Pierce. When we signed Michael Pierce, it was a good signing. We got the guy from Baltimore for the inside middle. Michael Pierce, first week of the season, it was Michael Pierce isn't here. Now it's Michael Pierce is like John Randall. You hear it week after week after week. We don't have Michael Pierce. It keeps growing and growing. Michael Pierce is like Aaron Donald now. The first week of the season, it was just Michael Pierce isn't here. Now everybody's so desperate to say our run defense is so shitty because Pierce isn't there. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of grown. His legacy has grown this season by not being there. The more we're getting jacked in the middle,
Right?
Michael Pierce is like this Hall of Famer now because everybody misses him.
So let me ask this real quick. So with those three guys back next year, does that make so much of a difference that this team is what are they now?
We're 6-9,
10-6.
Are they? Is it that much of a difference that they would be 9-6 this time next year? I don't think so. I really don't.
No.
And if that's not the case, then why are you even seriously considering bringing Mike Zimmer back? Is my question.
When it finally went to me, my first question was going to be, how do you defend bringing Zimmer back? I'll leave it to you guys.
You don't.
There's such a gloom over this team right now. And you know what? Flip brought up a very good point after a couple weeks ago after the game. He said, coaches only make it until the fan base turns. That stuck out in my head when Flip said, when the fan base turns on you, you don't survive it. When they go over the edge, and the percentages are leaning that way right now, when the fan base turns and the mob starts, man, it's tough. It's tough. But how do you sell me Zimmer for next season? There's so much gloom and bad culture.
The mob right now is more pro Kirk Cousins than it is pro Mike Zimmer, which is a wild thing to say, but it's true.
It really is. Honestly.
Yeah, I would not disagree with that, but the feeling and the black cloud above this team is how do you go anywhere past the Lions game next week with Zimmer as your head coach? I don't see how you do it, dude. It's over. I mean, it's terrible, man.
The thing is, we all said and I've mentioned this before, but we all said that the Vikings offense would have to carry this team probably for a good part of the season.
Most
and that
of
became
it,
even
if
more,
not all. Yes.
and that became more apparent once the injury started hitting on defense. And yet the Vikings still kind of stayed with this run first conservative approach. I think they kind of opened it up today, and it felt for a while that Zimmer realized, look, this is going to be a track meet, and I need to stay play for play. And then, it just became too much. And if you don't have the horses to run on either side of the ball, because really the Vikings should on offense, but their philosophy inhibits them from doing so because they kind of went still ball control, time-consuming drives until they couldn't anymore. So if you have a philosophy and a roster that doesn't allow you to run with the horses in the NFL, man, you really got to relook at what you're doing. And I think we all agree. Most of us agree. I'm not Dave. I know you're a big Zimmer guy. I don't know if you still are, but it just, this is not going to be an enthusiastic offseason if there's not some significant changes made for me.
Nick, we told you on a pregame show, expect the Vikings to get curb stomped, and we were correct.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about. I don't want it to go there, but I wasn't surprised.
No, I don't think any of us were. Were we? Did we actually think we could win this game? Did anybody?
No,
I think you called it.
But the coaches, it's what gets me the most is you go into this game, it's an uppercut. You're punching above your weight in order to win this game. No other way about it. What do you have to lose? And so if you know that you're the underdog, this is supposed to be Zimmer's specialty, winning games when nobody believes in them. Underdog mentality. Go up, punch against your weight, and you're in the game, and you have to go down by 10. You have to go down 17-7 before you actually start to try to open your offense up. It's mind fucking boggling. Like, we're talking second and down runs. We're talking poor clock management. They're trying to run the clock out at the end of the first half rather than going and scoring some points. So what's going on here? They're just trying to do this Mike Zimmer ball control, keep the game close when they know they don't have the talent to do it. That's bad coaching. There's no other way to put it. This is bad coaching through and through. It's a misunderstanding of the talent. It's an inability to develop the talent, and it's an inability to call plays that make the most out of your talent. Fucking terrible. So do something about it. That's the only fix. That's where it stops and ends. You're trying to go out and win a big game, so play like it. Take some shots early. Take some big risks instead of this utter, complete conservative bullshit. I'm so sick of it.
Damn.
Amen.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right.
Reggie, I noticed that too. Run on first down just about every stupid time.
If you're on the Zimmer boat now, you're either on meth or you're in denial, and you like him for
And
other reasons other than
of course,
football.
when we go down 3 scores, that's when you see the bubble screens to Justin Jefferson. That's when you see the design fade routes and jet motion to Adam Thielen. But they have those plays, but they're like, no, we don't need them unless we're desperate. Use them at the start of the game.
There's a thought.
Shock.
No shit.
The last 3 weeks they've had their season on the line. They've been essentially in the playoffs the last 3 weeks. Tampa Bay, Chicago, and this game. They lost 26-14, 33-27, and Sean Payton hung a 50 burger today. I mean, I'm sorry, but when you're showing up like this when the games matter the most, and your excuse, I guarantee you, Mike Zimmer's. I haven't watched it yet. I'm probably not gonna. I might read a synopsis or a transcript, but I guarantee you, he's gonna say we didn't play very good today. We need to play better. And if that's your pat answer,
every fucking week,
done. Yeah,
This is the Zimmer equivalent of Leslie Frazier's. We got to go back and look at the tape and figure out what we did wrong. But see, things like this, and Flip talked about the roster construction and stuff like that. And if that's why people want to bitch about Kirk Cousins, people want to bitch about the offense, whatever. I'm done blaming Kirk Cousins for shit that isn't Kirk Cousins' fault anymore. Because 3 years ago, when you loaded up that Brinks truck full of $84 million guaranteed dollars and you backed it up to Kirk Cousins' house, you knew this was what Kirk Cousins was. And it was your job as the coaching staff, as the scouting staff, as the general manager, to build a freaking team to mitigate that guy's deficiencies and, accentuate his strengths. And you haven't done it. And we've been talking about guys like Dakota Dozier. I said on the pregame show, the only difference between Dakota Dozier and an orange traffic cone is that people occasionally trip over an orange traffic cone. I mean, for God's sake, if you're going to try to run this kind of offense with this quarterback and this team, you need to do something, whatever the hell it is. I don't care who you have to get interior offensive linemen from. The offensive line for this team has sucked since 2009. So, I mean, we knew it was bad. But if you're going to sign Kirk Cousins, you need to do something to make the offense work around him, and they haven't done it. So I'm done blaming Kirk Cousins for stuff that's not Kirk Cousins' fault anymore, because Kirk Cousins is what he is. We know what he is. The Vikings knew what he was when they signed him, and despite knowing what he was when they signed him, they haven't done what they needed to do. And that's not on Kirk. Right. That's on the front office and the coaching staff.
There's your
Mike Zimmer
quote.
What he was in Washington. He's exactly what he was in Washington. Exactly.
Well,
yes, he is. There's your Mike Zimmer quote, Ted.
From today,
the gripe around Kirk.
From the press conference.
So my guys are injured.
Oh, we got to get my Pro Bowl guys back.
We got to get my Pro Bowlers.
Fuck that guy. Fuck him.
Oh.
Just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, you know what, Mike? How about you talk about the 2-minute football? Because I'm pretty sure your team doesn't. They don't practice it, and you can't convince me otherwise. They do not practice 2-minute situations.
Doesn't look like it.
That 2-minute drill at the end of the first half was a disaster.
Oh, hold on. We got to get Chad Beebe on the field before we run this next play with 9 seconds left. Both throws over the middle of the field. I feel like 6-10 is rock bottom. People want to just say, and let's see if we can do status quo for one more year when we go 6-10. It's absolutely incredible to think that. Like I said, 400 points allowed. The Vikings have never won more than 6 games when allowing as many points as we allowed this season. Y'all, here's my question. If you don't want to get Mike Zimmer, then what is the big significant change you're making to this football team? Because just bringing defensive starters back isn't a big significant change. What are you going to change to win a Super Bowl?
Quarterback. It's the only thing that matters.
And here's the thing with Hunter, he had a herniated disc in his neck, right?
Yes.
That was his injury?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and he had surgery on it.
There's no guarantee that he's going to come back as good as he was before, and it's a neck injury. Neck injuries can be tricky. If that's Mike Zimmer's real quote, I'm even more disappointed in him than I am in Leslie Frazier's. We got to just look at the tape and make corrections. It's just excuse making. It's just absolute 100% excuse making.
David, do you think it's really just the quarterback? Is that what you think?
I think the quarterback is key to winning the Super Bowl, because everything I've studied, except for the '85 Bears, the Baltimore Ravens, and that one team, the Parcells Giants, it's always the quarterback. You've got to have that guy. Without that guy, you're never going to get there. Period. Never.
Yeah.
I don't care who's coaching. You're never going to get there.
The way to say it, Drew, is yes, Kirk Cousins is playing well right now. Kirk Cousins is also very hard to build a champion around. And you can see that right now. You need one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL if you want to win a championship with Kirk Cousins. You need
that's the point I was getting at.
You need both. You need not just that, but you need both great weapons and you need a great offensive line. So it's not just one or the other. You need both if you want to win around Kirk Cousins. And you need probably league average defense if you want to win around Kirk Cousins. And it's really hard to put great coaching staff, great weapons, great offensive line, good defense all around this one guy, where other places in the league, the quarterback is covering up half of those issues. So you don't need all that greatness around your good quarterback.
Sorry, froze.
Nick, Kirk had a QBR of, what was it? A rating of 110.9 today.
You know, I can't blame the offense. I mean, they put up 33 points today.
I can blame the offense.
Yeah.
But I would argue they didn't go into high gear until they were down by 2 scores. We've had this. These are the guys. These just seem like the same conversations we have every week. I mean, the problems. Yeah.
Why don't they go into high gear when they're down 1 score?
Yeah. I mean, this is like, having a teenage son or daughter having the same conversation after they break curfew again. It's the same frustrating thing over and over and over. And again, I take that back to coaching. If your team keeps doing the same thing and they don't correct those mistakes, then you have to lay that at the feet of the coaching staff and their lack of preparation or their inability to correct mistakes if they are preparing and focusing on it. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is, but I do know what the solution ain't, and the solution ain't bringing back Mike Zimmer. Sorry, just didn't.
Bam.
Patty, you've got a good point there.
Okay, it's Herschel Walker, but we didn't trade half our team and 5 years worth of draft picks for one guy. We just signed Kirk to a big deal.
I mean, there's plenty of time to talk about Vikings offseason. I'm not going to do it now, right after watching that game on Christmas. It's just I see so much young talent on this team, potential. Yeah. Even though I'm disappointed by the 2019 class, I see so much potential, and I just want the best for those guys, and I want to maximize those guys, and I want to put in a structure in place that's going to give us another rocket boost into the next decade to win with these guys. And I would hate to build off all the success we've seen from our young players by taking a wait and see approach. We can be proactive here and we can go hunt a championship rather than just waiting for one.
And Vikings fans have said that for 60 years.
The whole thing is just really, really confusing at this point. How many, I don't know if you guys got the scores in front of you. How many games, if the Vikings held the other team to 20 points, what would their record be this season?
This year?
I've got
it up. You guys talk. I'll let you know here in a minute.
I'm kind of interested to know because the year
like the Mendoza line we've talked about.
We talk about
the last
17.
few seasons.
It's not a stat anymore.
We talk about
it's my
17.
issue.
No.
What Flip just said. It's not a stat.
The play calling. The
Vikings held their opponents to 20 points twice this year.
Yeah,
just twice.
Yeah. Twice.
But if you look league wide, holding a team to 20 points just isn't a thing in this modern NFL. It's not something you can bet on, and it's not something that's going to happen. And especially if you look at 2020 in particular, the COVID effect has been just bad defense overall. The Vikings are still bad relatively to that, but this is clearly a season where you look around and you say, okay, I need my offense to score points. And the issue with the Vikings is everything that they see both with what's happening around the league, what they have on the defense. They're still trying to hold teams to 20 points. Well, you're going to fail because that's impossible.
Well, Zimmer's done that before.
Yeah, in a non-COVID year when his guys are healthy.
In a non-COVID year when you had off seasons and you had the team before and you didn't shit can all your corners and your defensive line was a shit ton better. And
right.
Yes.
So, and that's my issue is how can you look at this team and still try to run the same thing you were running in 2015? How can you do that?
Or 2017.
I don't know.
How can you
It's
not
not the
adjust?
same team.
How can you not adjust?
How they went into this season thinking getting rid of so many cornerbacks with no off season and the COVID stuff was a good idea. That was my first big question that they had. I just there's so many things have led up to this point. Drew, we've talked about this. Chris, we've talked about this. So many things have led up to this point, and this is just my opinion. You can trace it all back to Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman, whether the decision they made personnel wise or whatever. And as somebody asked a question, well, I see your frustration. Who would you want as a new coach? I'd like to see Eric Bieniemy. I'd like to see an offensive minded guy take this offensive talent, bring in a defensive guy with a good track record, and get a decent defense, which you can. I think you can win a lot of games with this offense. You have the talent there. But, I mean, it just beyond frustrating. Just beyond frustrating.
I could name 7 offensive-minded coaches that I'd like to give a shot at, and there's no guarantees there. There's no guarantees. They could be worse than Mike Zimmer, but go ahead.
I just want to throw this out there. Currently right now, as we all sit on this panel, there's a dark, horrible, shit, gloomy cloud that hangs over this team, and there's a losing culture. There's a losing culture that hangs over this team. That we're not going to argue about. Are we?
No, I'm not.
I would argue about that a little bit.
It's
I
horrible.
really like the young guys.
That needs to change, and it starts at the top, and it changes there, and you start working on
Spielman,
that.
yes, rid of him. Zimmer, yes, rid of him. Cousin, yes, rid of him. There's your top 3. Change that, and the attitudes will change. Period.
And
because it all trickles down from that.
Well, I think, and I don't know if I'm coming through clear here, but what I want to say is it doesn't have to be a change because we're angry. This is again, it's an amazing time to potentially change leadership at the top with all the young talent we have. You can maximize these guys, and you can get really good really quick if you have the right coach in place. I don't see this as like a 3-year rebuild with another coach. I see an offensive-minded coach coming in with Kirk Cousins and all the weapons we have on offense, get back some healthy players on defense, little bit of better play calling, better management, better culture where they want to play. They don't have that loser's mentality, aggressive, foot on the gas, talking shit to the other team, talking smack, getting in their face, saying nobody's going to beat us at home. That type of attitude. And you can be looking at 11-5, 12-4 real damn quick if you get that culture in place. So let's do it because we got the talent.
Yes. To piggyback right off that, you got Justin Jefferson, best wideout in football, young wideout in football, bar none. He's the best wide receiver in the league, rookie coming out. Justin Jefferson, Irv Smith, he's coming on. He's doing well. You got Kirk's not, worn in years to begin with. You got him. You got Wanham. You got 2 young, really good corners that are going to be pretty good. So flip is right. You got you got a base of young talent that you can build around. Get the culture changed now so you could roll with it all at once. Roll with your young guys and have the winning culture be brought in. You got some good young players, and if you get Hunter and those other guys that we mentioned earlier back on top of it, all the better, right?
And I was going to say, Rhino's got a great point here. I was just going to bring this up. People who are afraid to move on from Mike Zimmer, the Packers did. with Mike McCarthy, who had a great track record, even won a Super Bowl with the Packer. And they went with a very unknown guy in Matt LaFleur, and it seemed to start off very rocky. Look what he's done in 2 years, back-to-back division titles. I think they went 13-3 last year, and they're on track to win 13 games and the number one seed in the NFC this year. So
it's a great point. They weren't scared to go on, were they? They weren't scared to say, what if we get somebody worse than Mike McCarthy? You can't live scared, dude. Look at the team right now. Look at the Vikings.
But they also had a Hall of Fame quarterback.
The Vikings need to change. They need change. If this this is staring you right in the face, come on.
Let's go our next 10 years without winning shit. Yes.
Just stop already.
What are you talking about?
What if we won the last 10 years?
Who's going to go 10 years?
We've gone 60.
We have not gone 60 years without winning shit. We've been a good, competent team that has never reached the ultimate goal.
Well, and what do you think in the next 10 years? What statistics are telling you the next 10 years we're going to get that goal?
Why do you want to keep Zimmer?
I don't. I'm not saying I did. I said fire his ass.
Why are you scared of a downside that you've never seen in your entire Vikings fandom?
There you go.
Because I'm afraid of the fucking pits that we turn into the Browns in Detroit. And then I will die before we ever see a Super Bowl win.
So are you willing to bet the chance that we turn into Cleveland or Detroit for the possibility that we turn into New England or Kansas City? Are you willing to make that bet?
Brother, I'm 53 and I'd roll those dice right now. Let's go.
Roll them.
If we could, but I'm not seeing that.
Why not?
Okay. Then what are you seeing currently with the Mike Zimmer era that tells you that they are going to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 or 3 years?
Let's hear it.
Well, the fact that he can build a top 3 defense and we've improved on offense is the only thing I can see. He has that in his repertoire. He's done it. Now, when you roll the dice, that's a big roll. It can go good. It can go as normal in that we're competitive and don't win shit, or it can go very bad.
But Dave, I understand what you're saying, and I get it, and I respect it. You say that he has that in his repertoire. I would change that to past tense. He had that in his repertoire.
Yes.
And we've said this a lot of times ever
Not
since the
same
2017 NFC Championship game loss. He doesn't have it anymore. I mean, he had when you can run Daniil Hunter and Everson Griffin and Linval Joseph and Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith and all those guys. It was like when Brian Billick was the offensive coordinator of the Vikings. I mean, that dude had Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith and a great offensive line, and everyone thought he was an offensive genius. And he went to Baltimore, and that offense sucked in Baltimore. They were awful. They won because they had one of the 5 greatest defenses in NFL history. But Zimmer has built these defenses before. I understand that. I get that. But the question at this point is, can he do it again? And I don't know if he can. I'm starting to think he probably can't.
He can't. And let me tell you why. It's because Zimmer built those defenses when we had a cheap quarterback in place. And he built those defenses with first and second round draft picks. And the second we got an expensive quarterback in place, the second we started building offensive pieces, drafting offensive pieces, that Mike Zimmer defense fell apart. So yes, can he build up from here? Sure. But can he build a unit that's going to stop Patrick Mahomes or stop Aaron Rodgers on a consistent basis or stop Russell Wilson? Man, that's not a bet I'm going to make. I'm more willing to bet on the offensive talent we have in place and getting an offensive coordinator who can maximize them. So we can go into a Saints game and not try to be conservative. And from play one, we're ready for a shootout rather than trying to prevent the inevitable fact that we're going to have to score 40 plus.
You said
You know what this
offensive. You said offensive coordinator, not offensive-minded head coach.
Yeah, okay. Demote Mike Zimmer. I don't care. Just get him.
What I'm saying is, Kubiak's the coordinator, and Kubiak's
a puppet, man. Kubiak's a puppet.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, it's Mike Zimmer pulling the strings. I don't believe that worth a shit.
you know what this offense reminds me of right now? This reminds me of the defense Mike Zimmer inherited when he took over in 2014. 4 or 5, maybe 6 really good players that had not had a coach that could see their potential and watch them realize it and live up to it. I mean, because when Zimmer took over in 2014, he had Everson Griffin. He had he drafted Anthony Barr in his very first draft. He had Harrison Smith. He had Xavier Rhodes. He had Chad Greenway, who was still on the roster. He had Brian Robeson, and there's probably another 3 or 4 guys that turned out to be pretty good.
They signed Linval that offseason too before his first season.
They signed Linval.
If there's anybody that this defense misses, that's the guy. Linval Joseph.
100.
Is the guy.
And
we can talk about Hunter and
Pierce
whatever
was
else.
supposed to be his replacement.
The main point is, can he build that defense again without premium draft picks? Because all the guys we named were day 1 or day 2 picks.
Yeah.
And I don't think he can, not to mention the cultural issues that are at hand right now. It's just, we have to accept the fact that those shutdown defenses don't exist anywhere in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
Which is going to piss him off.
and I see this current offense with guys like Thielen and Cousins and Cook and Justin Jefferson, who Drew mentioned, and you get an offensive minded guy who's hungry and wants his chance, like Zimmer did in 2014. I think he can take that offense and turn it into something special and get back those players on defense and get a defensive coordinator that knows what he's doing. I mean, you're probably not going to have a 2016 or 2017 Mike Zimmer defense, but it's going to be pretty decent because you got pretty decent players still. And
I mean, oh my God.
How many offensive guys? Take your offensive coach, your offensive-minded guys. Are they focusing on defense? We've got to rebuild the defense.
They don't. What?
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't need to rebuild the defense.
Who's playing where then, Flip?
You get 4 healthy guys back, and you load up on offense, and then you've got some middling, like league average 16th or 18th ranked scoring defense, and one of the best offenses in the NFL, and that's how you win.
And you beat guys 38-24, like the 98
You don't
Vikings.
need to rebuild the defense. Get that all. We got how many people watching? We don't need to rebuild the defense. Fuck the defense. Get an offense who can score these motherfuckers with confidence.
Like a Denny Green system, where fuck you, we're going to score every drive.
Yes.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm all for that. I liked it back then. The 2000 offense was awesome.
Good old Denny Green. Hell of a coach.
Hell yeah, he was.
He really was.
I miss Denny Green.
Hey, Denny Green defenses didn't let up 440 points in a season. Never happened.
Denny Green's defense went 41 donut in the Meadowlands in the NFC Championship.
You know what? When it came to a press conference, he wasn't blaming.
Denny
Green wasn't in press conferences. He wasn't blaming onside kicks either. He was saying, "This is my problem."
That's true.
This is me.
What does that say? If I'm DJ Wanham, and I hear that Zimmer quote that, we just got to get Danielle Hunter back, what does that say to me as a rookie who's trying to make an impact as a defensive end? What does that say?
Yeah.
How is that a good cultural quote for our young guys? When you're just saying, hey, we need to appraise you. That's terrible, Mike Zimmer.
That is terrible.
Yeah, but he hasn't said anything about DJ Wanham.
Yes, because it's like those other guys don't exist. Because he's got his guys. And he thinks if he has his guys, he'll be fine. And it's his guys and everybody else.
It says a ton of DJ about DJ Wanham.
You don't
he talked about his linebackers, the other defensive end, and the nose tackle.
What did I just say? If I'm DJ Wanham,
Ted,
I'm a young defensive end. Same thing what happened in Odenigbo. What does that say to me when I'm trying to do the most I can and the coach is like, oh, we just got to get somebody else in here?
He
How does that
didn't say
inspire
get
me?
somebody else. He said bring back the guys that are out.
Yeah, how does that make me feel as a DJ Wanham when he's basically saying, I just need to get this guy
His
back on the
spot
bench?
isn't in jeopardy. Now, if you're
It
talking
is.
about
He's a starter now, and you're talking
Troy
about benching him.
Dye or Davis, yeah,
He
they
can't
may
have
be sitting there
He can't
going,
have this
I'm worried, but not DJ Wanham.
Welcome to my
DJ
world.
Wanham has been giving maximum effort all season long, and his coach just said, we got to get that guy back on the bench, effectively. That's what he said.
No, we didn't. Not one.
But
the only
Dave,
he mentioned
Dave,
Hunter.
Dave. Well, what
Yes!
he's saying,
That's
though,
the other side.
But if you're assuming at this point that if Hunter comes back, he plugs into one defensive end spot, Odenigbo hasn't done a damn thing all year.
Right,
So
and I
what-
think it's going to be
what
Hunter and Wanham.
But well, then I don't know, but yeah, we can't blame guys not being there at this point anymore because most of them haven't been there all damn year.
Well, that's the problem this season.
Mike
That's
Zimmer
just it.
should have
And
come
that's what
out-
the Wilfs are going to look at.
Here, this is my last statement. Mike Zimmer should have come out in that press conference. He should have said, you know what? We've had a ton of injuries on this defensive side of the ball. We had a really bad day today, but I'm proud of my guys. They're young. They fought their hearts out just like they've done all season long. And when we come back next year, these are the guys that I want to win with. That's what he should have said.
That's what a good coach would say.
Yeah, but he also wants to win with the guys that are injured.
Well, fuck the guys who are injured. You don't have a choice. You can't make the club if you're in the club. That's a Mike Zimmer quote. So inspire the guys you got.
Paging
Oh,
Josh
Dave.
Robinson. Josh Robinson.
Please pick up the
Oh,
white
man.
courtesy phone, Josh Robinson.
I love
Don't
being
get
on
me
this
started.
panel.
Don't get me
I love
started
being on this-
all the
I love
defensive
this panel,
talent that has left Minnesota and has dominated from Mackenzie Alexander to Xavier Rhodes to Linval Joseph is playing well. Pat Elflein's already starting on an NFL football team. Mike Remmers is having a season. Stephon Diggs, oh no, I said his name. All these guys have left Minnesota and they're balling right now.
There you go.
But we still got to be okay with this stupid
Hey,
ass "Give me the Neil Hunter back" quote. Fuck that
Time.
quote.
It's time. Get them up there, boys. Dave's
Yeah.
gonna fight till the last straw falls, man.
I'm just telling you what the Wilfs are thinking.
You love that
I
guy
don't
so
care
much.
what
You
you
look at. Did you get
I
me?
said he should be
Did you?
fired. I've said
Did
that
you?
about 100 times, and you refuse to take that.
Did you get a kidney from Mike Zimmer? I'm asking a serious question.
His kidneys are probably worse than mine. No.
Jesus. Wow.
But with that, let's wrap this puppy up because I think we've been almost an hour. Last words, Drew.
I love all the takes on this show. I love being on this panel. Y'all have a lot of knowledge, and the Viking loss, that was the smile that slid down the crack of my ass. I got a smile back on my face. So thank you, gentlemen. We're moving on to the Lions. We got one more game, and
It should be close.
tough game today, but we move on. Thank you for the good show. It was a great show. Thanks for all the listeners who chimed in. Happy holidays. Happy New Year's.
Ted.
For those that tuned in and listened and watched, thanks for spending part of your Christmas with us. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. I hope the rest of your holiday season is safe, healthy, and happy. It can't be any worse than what we saw today. And we'll see you guys next week at the season finale for the Lions game.
Flip.
Thanks.
Oh, it's the holiday. Enjoy it, everyone. You know, I logged on Christmas and I decided I was going to try to make this a 30-minute show. And I just seeing all the followers and all the comments, it means a lot to us. I want y'all to know that. Have a Merry
Yes.
Christmas. I'm going to have to, I think I just had a lot more curse words and a lot more whiskey than my family members were prepared for. So I'm going to try to make up the rest of my Christmas, but I want y'all to just enjoy it, make the most of it. Happy holidays. Love y'all, Skull Vikes.
Chris.
I just want to say thanks to y'all for letting me jump on again. I enjoy the hell out of having these discussions with you guys, even though we don't always agree on stuff. Especially after the kind of shit show we saw this afternoon. We need this kind of therapy type session for us, for the listeners, for the readers, whoever it might be. And this kind of stuff is awesome, and it's nice to be a part of it. And yeah, thanks to everyone that commented, listened, just whatever, and enjoy the rest of your holiday season because it's going to be off season and draft time here before we even realize it.
Yes.
And I never got to ask you the draft. God darn it! All right, come on.
We'll
Next
get
week.
there.
Next week.
Okay.
Next week.
Sure.
Fuck.
I'll
Darn it!
whenever you guys will have me, I'll be back.
I had that draft question all ready for you. We got started on this. All right, next time.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Everybody, enjoy the remaining of your Christmas. My ham's in the oven should be out shortly. I've got wine in the fridge, especially now that I'm out of beer. Hope you had a great one. Vikings, are who they are. So, we love you. We want you to watch us again. Join us tomorrow. However, I don't have a friend to join us, so I got to find one. Anyways, join us tomorrow for Vlogmas 2020 as we continue live broadcasts from GMG and Climbing the Pocket Network as partner with Daily Norseman. Ted's bladder's about to burst.
I got a grandson that wants to play Nintendo Switch. I gotta go.
Good
Love
luck,
you guys.
Anyways, Merry Christmas. We love you. Skull. Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.